For the animation exercises that I was doing, which I have still yet to complete, which I still plan on completing because we can't leave anything unfinished. We must finish what we start. But yeah, hopefully I'll finish it sometime soon. Now, I created a character, which is a coconut character, and I thought it would be cool to show you guys how I rigged that character. So this is a video on how I rigged the coconut. Let's rig the coconut. I'm going to start with the face. I'm going to open up the group here, open up the body and select face. Now, if I should click on the origin point and move it, we can see that only the face moves. But I'm going to undo that. Now, I would like for this top piece here, as well as the hole and the straw to move along with the face. So we'll have to make some adjustments here. I'm going to open up the head group here, and I'm going to select the whole outline here, and I'm going to just hold on the control key on my keyboard and left click on the region here, because this is a colored part of the hole here. I should have renamed that so that it would be clearer, but that is okay. And I'm going to select this region part here, which is the piece at the top here, this whitish grayish piece here. And I'm just going to press Ctrl and X to cut those. I left the straw, but we can get that later. So I'm going to go to face, open up the face group here. I'm going to select the top layer here within the face group and just press Ctrl and V to paste that all in there. I'm going to go back for the straw layer here. Well, let's leave the straw layer for now. Let me close the head group. And I am going to select the region here. Let's rename this and call this whole color, like so that we don't get confused there. This piece is the top head. Can't come up with a better name, so we leave it at that. And we had originally changed the blend method for that to onto. Let's change that to compose, because the entire face layer right here is already set to onto. So if this is set to onto as well, it won't show. Now, but notice a few things here. Well, one thing, the outline is now underneath this entire area here. So to fix that, I'm going to open up the head group here, select the head outline, Ctrl X to cut it, or you could just go to edit, cut, and I'm going to go right here above the face layer here and just press Ctrl V to paste that outline over the entire body part of the coconut here. Okay, so now it's above what we have there. Now let's go ahead and get the straw. So I'm going to select the straw here, Ctrl X, and I'm going to select the head outline and press Ctrl V because we want it to go above the outline there. So let me zoom in here, and I'm just going to adjust the straw a bit. Actually, let me go and find its control points. I'm going to select the origin point here with a gray point to move all the controls and move it here. Let me zoom in, and I'm just going to move this up a bit like so. So only a few adjustments until we get this right. Let me zoom out here. If we should select the face group here and set the origin point and move, we can see that all of that is moving along with the face here, apart from the straw. But don't worry, when we're rigging, we'll add the straw to it. So let me just undo that. Let's go back to normal here. So let's complete rigging the face. So I'm going to close up this group here, and let's see here. Yeah, let me open up this body here, select the face, and I'm going to turn on animate. Now for this part, you'll have to make sure that you have the joystick plugin installed, and I already have that installed here. So let's go ahead and apply some actions to the face. I'm going to select the keyframe layer here, and I'm going to select the keyframe properties here. I'm going to remove that initial keyframe there, go back to the properties panel here, and on frame 0, I'm just going to select the origin point here, move it to the left, just to add a keyframe, and then move it to the right by selecting my left arrow key and my right arrow key, just to add a keyframe. So the idea here is that we're going to create several keyframes, at least 5 overall keyframes of the face looking in different directions. So for the first one, it's in the default position, and I'm going to go to frame 1 here. So that's on frame 0, then move down to frame 1. And for frame 1, I'm going to move the face over to the right or the left so that the character is looking in this direction. And then I'm going to go to the next keyframe here, and I'm going to have the face looking in the next direction here. So I'm going to close up the transformation properties here. As you can see, we have 3 overall keyframes. Let me zoom in here so that you can see we have 3 keyframes: normal, left, and right. So we need 2 more, which is the character looking up and the character looking down. So for the character looking up, I'm just going to duplicate the original keyframe here, which is the very first one. So I'm going to select that, hold down the shift key on my keyboard, and left click and drag that over like so to get it back into its default position. And I'm just going to move this up a bit. I want a bit of this to show. We can move it up as far as we want, but I want a bit of this part to show. And I am going to move 1 keyframe down, and I'm going to have the face looking down. Okay. To recap, we have 5 different keyframes. 1 for the character looking in the straight ahead, which is the normal pose. The second one, character looking in that direction. The third one, looking in the opposite direction. 1 looking up and 1 looking down. In order for the straw to go along with all of this, we need to add some keyframes for the straw. So here on the frame 0, I'm just going to select the straw layer here, and I'm going to add a keyframe for each of these. Now I'm only going to add a keyframe for each of these points because I don't know when I might need to use any of those points, right? So it's safe to just add a keyframe for each of them. So I'm just going to select the rotation point here and just move it slightly, then move it back into place. And I'm going to do the same with the origin point here, move it up, move it down, do the same with the skew, left, right, down, up. Now it doesn't matter which direction you put it as long as you get a keyframe out of them. So I'm just going to select this one here, move it slightly, move it back, and this one here, move it slightly, move it back. And we don't need to add any for the this gray one here. Okay, so as you can see here, as we were doing that, it added keyframes for each of those properties there. So let me close that up, and I'm going to go down to the second frame here, and I'm just going to duplicate these keyframes here. So I'm just going to hold on shift, left click and drag, and put that on the second frame here. And I'm going to move the straw over to the right side here. Now this is what it will look like when the character turns in this direction. The straw will also turn in this direction as well. So let me just adjust this a bit, maybe there. Let me zoom out and just go back and forth. So on the first frame, it's like that. It turns there, it goes that way. Now we can adjust this a bit. I think I'm just going to adjust the rotation, like maybe so, just to get a bit of difference in how it looks. Let me zoom out here, back and forth. Okay, and that is looking fine. I'm going to close this back up, come down to the third frame here. Now this has the character looking into the opposite direction. So we're going to move this over here. Now it would make sense for the straw to be rotated. So a quick way to flip this is, well, actually, I don't remember if I duplicated the entire frames here. So I'm just going to hold down the shift key and duplicate that entire keyframe there so that we have all of those keyframes inside there. And let me move this back here. Now a quick way to flip the straw is just to select the scale point there, come down into the properties here, and on the X axis here, just type minus. So we're going to give it a minus value, then press enter twice, and then it will rotate itself around like that. Then let me zoom in here, and let me move this up like so, move this down like so. Let me zoom out, and then let's go back and forth to see what we have. So normal, to the left, and to the right. So that is looking fine. Now we only need 2 more keyframes because we need to have the same amount of keyframes for the straw as we have for the head or the face. Okay. Now this is where the character is looking up. It doesn't look like it's looking up much. Maybe I should have adjusted that, but that is okay. I'm okay with that. I'm just gonna move this up like so. Let me zoom in here and adjust this. So I didn't duplicate all of the keyframes. So here we can see that we have a couple keyframes missing from the skew and the scale. And even if we won't use them, I'm just going to still duplicate those. So I'm just going to select this, left click, drag, hold on shift, left click, drag. And let's see what we have. And I think I'm going to have the straw flip back around because originally it was pointing to the right. like so. Then rotate it around. Although it doesn't matter, it's entirely up to you how you want it to look when the character is looking up. So I didn't have to do this, but I'm just going to adjust it anyway. Zoom out, close the transformation bar there, and let's see what we have. Okay, now we have 4 keyframes, and I'm going to work on the last one. So I'm just going to duplicate this original keyframe here, move it down, and then move down this entire thing like so. Move this over like so. That should be fine. I think I like the way that looks. And let me add a bit of skew, like maybe like this. Move that down like that. Okay. So make sure you make all of the adjustments before we move on. Now, once you're done, make sure that your file is saved. My file was originally saved before, so you only need to save it once before we do this, but you can save again. So, well, actually, let me just save it again. So let me click on the save button. And what we need to do now is to assign the controls to all of these keyframes that we have here. And to do that, I'm just going to close up this entire group there. And right here where it says coconut, I'm just going to type joystick. So that's JOYSTICK _ and we can give it a different name. It doesn't matter. But I'm just going to leave what we have there, press enter. And then we want to go to plugins and click on create joystick, then click on proceed. And that will go ahead and create a control for all of those keyframes that we just assigned. Now, here it is right at the top, and it took on the name of the overall group that we had before. And you can change it to whatever you want. So I'm just going to call this controller face. Like so. I'm going to move this over. Now, this point right here is what will control all of those keyframes that we added in the initial stage. So if I should move this up, you can see that the face moves up, and that's the keyframe that we added originally. So now all we did was to assign a controller to those movements that we added before. And then move over to the left, move over to the right, and we can see that. Now, something to note is that if you move over slowly, look at the straw, it will look flat when it gets here because it has to rotate around in order to adjust itself to match the other side, right? But if you need to have the character move from left to right, you could just do maybe like a quick movement so you won't see that the straw looks flat. Okay, so that is okay. And if you wanted to reset the controller to the original position in the center, just make sure that you have the origin point selected there. And right here where it says origin, just type 0, press enter, and then type 0 again, enter, and it goes back to the default position. So let me just move this controller over here, get it out of the way. We can scale it down or do whatever we want with it. Doesn't matter. I'm actually going to change the color of this point there. Select the color here. I'm going to give it the same color as the face here. So we know that it's for the face. And this point here, we don't need it. Let me undo that. I'm just going to right click, convert, and convert that to a grade so that we aren't able to manipulate that right there. But the control itself still works. Okay, so that's it for the face. So that's out of the way. Let me turn that off. The next step is to work on the rest of the body. So I'm just open this up here, go to the body. Let's see here. Now I want the overall coconut body to move along with the arms here. So I am going to put the body on the arms. We could put them inside of a group together, or we could just right click, select, go to new layer, select transform, and click on rotate. And we can move the rotate down here. And if we rotate it, because the rotate transform is above both the arms and the body, it will rotate both the arms and the body together as one. Let me undo that. Now, undo that again. Now, I prefer when the rotation part here is pointing upward. To do that, I'm just going to come over here where it says amount, and I'm going to type minus 90 or maybe 90. Well, it doesn't really matter. But just as long as you get this blue part pointing upward, you don't need to do this part of it. But if you do want to follow along, just type 90 here. And then once it's pointing up, we notice that the body is now leaning towards one side. So we need to get that pointing upward. Now to do that, I'm just going to select both the arms group and the body group, place those in a group. And for that group, I'm just going to select that, and I'm going to hold on the Control key and select the rotate transform there. I'm just going to move this over. Let me zoom in here. Move this here to be in the same position like so. And then I'm going to select the group control point again, the rotation point. I'm going to type 90 here, or maybe that's minus 90. And now the character is back into its position. And if I should click on rotate here, we can see that this is pointing upward. Now we won't be using this because this does nothing. So let me just right click this, convert, and click on grade. So now we can rotate that as much as we want. Right, so let me undo that. And for the arms and legs, we don't want to move the legs or the arms up away from the character like that. So I'm going to right click all of these green points here. So this one first, convert, grade, right click this one, convert, grade. I'm going to do the same for both arms here. Right click, convert, grade. Click on this, right click, convert, click on grade. And one more thing is that we can add a control to move the character as a whole. And I am going to, let's see here, we can add another rotate controller. So underneath this rotate, let me actually call this body rotation. And I'm going to select the group here, right click, new layer, transform, rotate. And we can move this one all the way down here to the base. And if we rotate this, well, actually we need to get this above both the legs and the body. So I'm just going to move this up like so, move this down, and we can rotate the overall character. Now we could move this upward similar to this one here, but I'm going to leave it this way for now. But you already know how to do that if you need to do it. So that's how you would rig the character here.